So I have built quite a few Pokeballs, and it all started with this V1 Pokeball. Now this was kind of the kickstart of my channel. I built this Pokeball not expecting it to blow up, and it got a decent amount of views, but it had a lot of opinions attached to it. So I did a V2. I still get comments on this video to this day asking when I'm gonna perfect these Pokeballs. Now while I do have plans for a V3, it's gonna be way more intense than the V2, so I figured I'd move into another direction first just to get back into building Pokeballs, and that is going to be building the Arceus ball. The Arceus ball is primarily featured in the somewhat newer Pokemon game, Legends of Arceus. I totally didn't have to look that up to see how it's pronounced because I thought it was Arceus, but apparently they named it Arceus because it sounds too much like arse. Like they don't want it to just sound like buddious. Now this ball is pretty ancient looking in appearance and it has some pretty major differences in the functionality. And if you played Pokemon when you were younger or even just now, you'll notice the modern Pokeballs have like a wiggle feature during the catch sequence. You can forget all about that. The Arceus ball literally shoots into the air, and it also has a burst of smoke when it catches a Pokemon that comes out of the top. Now when I originally thought about this, I was like, yeah, let's build the Arceus ball. That has to be easier than a modern Pokeball, right? No. So of course I somehow have to make all this happen. But first, let's do some research. I booted up my Arceus copy that I admittedly haven't played much of since I'm always doing stuff like this instead. I determined that the ball shoots once in the air instead of wiggling 3 times before a catch, and that the failed catch down was essentially the same as the other Pokeballs. Okay, it just opens and plays the sound. With this info, I moved on to the first phase of testing, the launching mechanism. To the workshop! Now, I originally started out by trying to properly calculate the amount of force I would need, since I decided the best idea was to use a spring to launch the ball into the air. But I very quickly realized that I had no idea what any of these numbers or formulas meant anyway. So I defaulted to throwing balls at the wall and seeing what stuck. Or, I guess in this case, shooting them into the ceiling with springs.
Whoa.
Oh. Okay, that worked. I printed a few balls in roughly the size I would need the ball to be, with a slot to fit different size springs.
Whoa.
The balls were around 100 grams in weight, just as an estimate. This was obviously not very scientific, but I did flunk out of engineering school, so I don't know what you want from me here. Once I felt confident about these tests, I modeled a tiny cylinder that could fit a DC motor in the center, with enough room on the sides for the spring to sit. My idea was that there would be a plunger that compresses the spring and then latches into place, allowing the DC motor to unlatch it and launching the spring. No, can't turn it. This took quite a bit of tweaking, but I found the exact sweet spot and type of DC motor that had enough strength to unlatch the spring. And it was a little scary.
Oh, I heard that. Whoa! That hit the ceiling.
But it worked. So I moved on to the smoke effect next. Nick found these super tiny atomizer boards that are used for humidifiers. So I wired one up and tested it with the board I was going to use just to make sure it worked.
Ooh. Whoa!
So we'll have to compress it inside of the Pokeball because if you just kind of hold it on top, it doesn't work. You need to push it in. I thought this would do the trick nicely. Now that the 2 scariest parts of the build felt like they were somewhat covered, I finished the 3D model for the ball. I created slots for all the components and boards to inset into the bottom half, adapted the cylinder for launching the spring to fit into the Pokeball, created a screw-on slot for the atomizer in the top half that would hold a sponge, and I made the shells removable with screws. This way, if anything broke electrically or physically, it was easy to access and replace. This also gives the option of swapping shells as well. Then I went to go start some test prints. This way I could check fitment and the quality of the prints. I decided I was going to use ABS for the balls since I wanted these to be strong but light enough to launch. I did want a more authentic feel though, and while I can't afford a lathe, at least I can make my outer shells partially out of wood by printing them with wood filament. I had to refine my settings a lot to make sure these came out as smooth as possible. Now while these parts print, let's hear a word from our Spencer.
Diphthong.
No, I meant our sponsor. So while I was working on this build, I did a ton of traveling, from Orlando, Florida to San Francisco for open sauce. One thing I've really found hard as a busy person with really tight timelines and travel deadlines is getting a good meal in. But with Factor, the sponsor of today's video, I can make sure I always have fresh and hearty meals ready to go in minutes. I have a bad habit of forgetting to eat actual meals. Usually my excuse is that it takes too much time to prepare, I don't know what sounds good, or what I have around the house is kind of junky and not meal worthy, which I usually end up eating it anyway. So imagine my relief when I discovered that Factor is nutrient packed, full of real ingredients, and ready to eat. Factor meals are never frozen and require no prep or cleanup. And better yet, they're delivered straight to your door. And you can choose from several different menu styles such as Calorie Smart, Chef's Choice, Keto, High Protein, and more. I chose the high protein menu and their chicken options that week were amazing. These are chef crafted and dietitian approved meals that will keep you fueled, whether you're building Pokeballs or muscles. Factor also has add-ons that can make great snacks while you travel, work, or when you just need a quick munchie. I've been really enjoying these chocolate protein shakes, but they also have snacks like peanut butter energy bites, smoothies, oats, and even pancakes. And the rotating menu gives you something new to try every single week and for every meal. So head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code CuresWorkshopFB50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and free breakfast for 1 year. That's code CuresWorkshopFB50 for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Thanks to Factor for sponsoring this video and saving me the decision of what I'm gonna eat tonight. Let's get back to work. There weren't a ton of parts to print for the Pokeball, but they definitely weren't easy given the amount of detail and cut-ins everywhere. I probably reprinted the internal halves 10 times just wrestling with quality settings and dealing with support failures. Finally, I had to settle on a lower quality setting just so that the supports would survive. For some reason, they just did not like the variable layer height. However, I did get some perfect prints with the wood filament for the shells, which was where it mattered most. I briefly test fitted all the components to the shells to make sure I wasn't cooked. Let me do a demonstration because I'm pretty proud of these tolerances. But this one, you can see the screw holes line up perfectly. And then these little guys are really cute and they work really well. Look at this.
Wow.
So this is like the atomizer hole, the spout. And then it goes right there. And then we can just push it in so it's flush. And yeah, it sits right there. So I need to reprint this again because this one kind of failed. But these are the little like front lock pieces and they just slide into here. Wow. So these will be glued into these spots. So what I'll do first is I'll put like a brass insert here and then this will get glued on top of it. And then you can put it like that. You can actually remove the lids and like do maintenance, like electrical maintenance, like if something comes loose or something breaks or something burns out. And then you can also change the shell. So if you want to turn it into like a heavy ball, you could print different wood shells and paint them black and then swap the shells so it looks different. So I'm excited for this. What I'm gonna do with just this test print is I'm gonna wire everything up and like measure the correct length of the wire because what I really want this to do is just be completely flush because in the past I've really had to use these shells to like shove everything into the ball. And like structurally it's not good because you can't do any maintenance. Everything's glued in really tight and it just kind of like is bulging. Like the structural integrity is not very good. So I want to make sure this is nice and organized and clean on the inside. Then it was time to finally wire it all up and then get everything working together. I upgraded the electronics I used in this one. I opted for a much smaller board, the Seed Studio, and I tried to find substitutes for other boards I used last time that had a smaller footprint.
This is like the smallest board that I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's like a power boost, so I think it's 1.5 volt to 5 volt.
That's crazy.
He's so small. Only need one popcorn. This board is made by Wee Woo Day.
I can't wait to see this thing like hit the ceiling.
I hope it doesn't hit the ceiling. I don't think it'll be that powerful. Then I spent a couple hours wiring everything together. Luckily, I was able to Frankenstein my V2 code together to accommodate the atomizer and the DC motor spring launcher. It was essentially just copy and paste and change a few lines of code. Then I found sound effects from the game using clips on YouTube, converted them to MP3 sound files since last time I used Wave and they just came out really crappy. MP3 sounded much crisper. And I uploaded them to the SD card on my DF Player Mini. Now that everything worked and existed in the physical world, I got to sanding. I spent a lot of time working on the outer shells since I didn't want to use any filler and dull their authenticity. It smells like wood when you sand it with a Dremel. Once everything was prepped, I airbrushed the inner details with a dark gray, then a metallic silver as a base. Then I just detailed the inside and outside with some acrylic paints and some rub and buff for a slightly worn look. And now, it was time to put it all together. Now I always underestimate how long assembly takes. You'd probably think this took an hour. Nope, this took 8. Anyway, enjoy this assembly montage that is precisely 1/480th of the time it took me to do it. Hopefully you can hear it. I'm just gonna sit really close to it.
Ooh. That looked really good.
There we go. It's a decent puff of smoke.
Yeah. It's really visible.
We'll see how it looks outside.
Yeah.
I'm worried.
It's got a nice slam shut.
Oh, the wind.
The wind. Wait.
Does not allow it to show up.
Wind is blowing this way. Let's go right here.
You can't see it. All right, it is 11:11. I wish that the Pokeball does not break. We're gonna load this thing, and if it shoots too high, I'm gonna try to catch it. I don't know what's gonna happen, but the beauty of it is that we get to find out together.
It's never been tested.
This is my own creation, my own fault. If it explodes, this is just the end of the video. Like, literally, what am I gonna do when it breaks? I'm ready. Oh. I don't like this anymore. All right, I feel like this is the one. Ooh, that wasn't bad. It just doesn't land on its butt. My biggest complaint is that you can see the spring, but I don't know how you would get rid of that.
I like it. I like the cute little hop.
I don't know why, but reloading it makes it jam. Like the spring is like locking it. So when I reload it with the button, it locks, but if I push it in and just turn it like a hair, it locks, and then that way when it shoots, it just goes beep, and it... Yay! Woo! I saw smoke! I feel like that, it launches okay. I'm just like not super happy with it. Better weight on the bottom so that when it lands, it like rolls forward. And then just a better way to keep it shut. The issue with grass is that like the grass creates resistance. So even if this was like heavy, it wouldn't have rolled forward. Because like if you watch the Pokeball V2 video, you can see the same thing happen in the grass where it doesn't really roll forward all the way. So we're gonna do it on this foam, and I'm gonna try to launch it and see if it'll roll. Because I just think it's environment. Yeah, I think the biggest issue, I'm less bothered by the spring now that we keep launching it, and more bothered about the fact that it just doesn't land straight. So I think weighing it down more.
Which is tough, because if you weigh it down more, it's gonna jump like less high. If you increase the strength of the spring, then the motor is gonna have to work harder to move it. And like the motor moving the spring was already an issue because of like strength of motor.
Strength of motor. Well, kind of.
That did the thing?
It always sounds so scary. Oh, now it's doing the thing again.
Oh, now it's a bomb.
Now it's a bomb. Final review. I'm really pushing this battery to its full potential to the point that the power boost heats up, like, to the point where you can't touch it. It's very hot. Because I'm running so much off of such a small battery, it will glitch out eventually, and it does things like run the atomizer constantly. Finding a way to upgrade power or prevent that from happening would be great. Yeah, just making it land straight. I think it's not terrible for a V1.
I think it's great.
All things considered, my V1 Pokeball was not this strong.
Yeah.
Like, it would not have survived this. So, for a V1, this is not bad. I still don't think it's great, but I think it's better than expected. No,
like,
I know somebody's gonna be upset about the spraying or like the fact that it doesn't land perfectly straight, and like so am I, but like there's only so much I could do for my V1. Like I gotta figure out what works first and then improve. Like you can't get it perfect on the first try, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I wish I could.
I could see a V2 like being pretty flawless. You know?
Well, yeah. So what I want to do is I want to do a V3 of the Pokeballs, and I want to do every Pokeball in existence and like a special feature with each one. So like different catch rates or like different animations, which is going to be a really intense video, but maybe I'll include this as well and do a V2 in that video. That would be like, it would have to be like parts, because that's going to be massive. Like that's so much work.
Yeah. I love it.
It's cute. It's a nice addition.